To Russia now, where the country's most prominent opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, has been abruptly moved from the prison he was in to a high-security penal colony. Navalny is serving an 11.5-year sentence for fraud and for contempt of court. Now, his lawyers say the reason for that move has not been disclosed to them. For the latest, we can cross now live to Moscow. Correspondent Daniel Hawkins is standing by for us. Daniel, do we know a bit about where Navalny has now been taken?
Absolutely. Well, this news first broke yesterday when Navalny's attorney arrived at the IK2 Pokrov penal colony around 60 miles east of Moscow to visit his client. He was told by guards at that prison that there was no such prisoner of that name at the location. They don't know where he is or where he had been taken to. There's no such convict here, they were told. Now, of course, prisons transfers in Russia can take some time. They're often very secretive, and there's not much information about what goes on there. But there were rumors, according to his spokeswoman, Kira Yarmysh, who posted on Twitter, that he had been taken to a different penal colony, IK6 Melekhovo. It's a maximum security penal colony even further east of Moscow, and that has now been confirmed, at least by Sergei Yazhan, who's the chairman of the Public Monitoring Commission, the commission responsible for monitoring prisoners' rights in the region. He has been moved to the IK6 high security penal colony there. It is much further than where he was living before. It's not quite as remote as some of the Siberian colonies beyond the Ural Mountains, but it is much further east. And of course, it's a notoriously tough place. That colony has been subject to multiple media investigations for alleged abuses of prisoners by security guards. And we understand Navalny's followers have said that they're preparing what they call a prison within a prison for the Kremlin critic. So certainly there are going to be concerns about conditions in this new maximum security penal colony, and certainly concerns for his safety and well-being.
Indeed. So real concerns for Navalny himself now, Daniel. But what about the opposition movement, which Navalny sort of remains the de facto leader of, despite being behind bars? What impact might this move have on that?
Well, you're quite right. Navalny has been one of the key figures of the opposition in Russia. He was sentenced to 2.5 years upon his return from Germany. He was then sentenced to a further 9 years for fraud charges. And we understand just weeks ago, he also himself said an investigation had been opened into further charges, which could result in an extra 15 years behind bars for the Kremlin critic. Now, the judge, when his appeal failed for that 9-year sentence, ordered him to serve that behind bars in a maximum security sentence. That means several things. His visiting rights will be severely reduced. His communication rights will be severely reduced. That's something Navalny has so far had in his prison. He's used his time in court to remain defiant, to criticize the Kremlin, to criticize what's going on in Russia. And he's, of course, been communicating with his hundreds of thousands, even millions of followers through written statements, through social media. That now is unlikely to happen. The Kremlin, of course, is going to say, look, everything's happening within the framework of the law. He was charged, tried, and found guilty. So everything effectively here is according to the law. Opponents are going to say this is a very clear message by the Kremlin that if a prominent figure like Navalny can be moved to a maximum security prison colony with much of his rights reduced, this can happen to anyone. And of course, with many of Navalny's followers already having fled Russia, facing charges, or having had their organizations banned or deemed illegal, foreign agents almost on a level with terrorist organizations, certainly this is going to be a massive concern for the opposition movement in Russia as well, especially given the heightened security situation and the heightened political tensions right now within the country.
Daniel Hawkins live for us in Moscow. Thanks very much indeed.